welcome back to Monday. Yeah, it is indeed Monday. It is, man. Shout out to Nonstop with the video. With some losses we've had this past playoffs, which first thing first, these playoffs have been very, very good. And we have only played one game from each series, but each game has been very, very good. Also, we have some injuries, Giannis, Tyler Hero, Ja. It kind of sucks. Obviously with the whole, the taking charges, that's been a big topic of discussion. But tonight we have Philly against the Nets and Warriors against the Kings. So both games should be very, very good, especially that last game, Warriors and Kings. First game was absolutely amazing. So for today, we are going to be checking out the biggest upsets in NBA playoff history. I'm pretty excited for it. You guys are pretty excited for it. Let's go ahead and let's just hop straight into it, man. Let's just hoop. Let's just go in and hoop. Very, very excited for this. Don't forget to like the videos. Like the video. Sub us
Keep the good ones in the regular season. But it's rare that the complete underdogs upset the favorite in a long playoff series. So when David beats the Goliath, and when the low-seeded teams knock out the title frontrunners, it becomes a memorable story in years to come. Here are the 10 biggest upsets in NBA playoff history, starting with the most recent. 2020, Denver Nuggets defeat the Los Angeles Clippers 4-3. The potential
How good was Kawhi last night?
Playoff matchup between the Lakers and the Clippers in 2020 became the hottest topic in Hollywood ever since Brad married Angelina. Never before have the Clippers looked so good, and never before they've managed to snatch a marquee free agent from their big brother. Kawhi Leonard famously shunned the Lakers and chose to go back to Cali with his pal Paul George, refusing to link up with LeBron and Anthony Davis. This created a rivalry the whole NBA world was buzzing about all year long. And the two LA teams were destined for a clash in the Western Conference Finals. However, this rivalry never really came to fruition because one big man from Serbia had something to say about it as well. After the Clippers took a dominant 3-1 lead in the Western semis against Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, the series shifted. The Clippers had a double-digit lead in each of the final 3 games of the series. And each time, Jokic and the Nuggets would come back and upset the heavily favored Clippers, who completely fell apart in Game 7. Paul George was trending on Twitter for all the wrong reasons, and Kawhi had to admit that he isn't the new king in town, while the Nuggets went on to face the Lakers and the actual king. 2016, Cleveland Cavaliers defeat the Golden State Warriors 4-3. Golden State Warriors won the NBA title in 2015, disproving Charles Barkley's theory that jump shots are like pretty girls and starting the three-point revolution. In 2016, the Warriors proceeded to punch through the league with their pace and space basketball, winning 73 games in the regular season and breaking the Chicago Bulls' 72-win record from 1996. Their dominance continued during the playoffs, where Golden State came just a win away from raising another Larry O'Brien, leading 3-1 against LeBron James and the Cavaliers. But because Draymond Green behaved like a squirrel, going after as many nuts as possible during the playoffs, he rightfully got suspended for Game 5. Kyrie and LeBron used Green's absence to steal Game.
I do agree with Stephen A's point. When Draymond getting suspended for Game 5, that changed everything. Obviously. But still, you kind of just, even without Draymond for that Game 5, you still expect the Warriors to beat Cleveland. But the way Kyrie and LeBron played, that's
Game 5 on the road with spectacular 41-point performances.
Oh my God.
And then tied the series at home, forcing a Game 7. In one of the most exciting finals sequences ever, LeBron blocked Andre Iguodala, Kyrie made a clutch 3 over Curry, who was then stopped by Kevin Love at the other end.
Yeah, clamped up by Kevin Love.
The shot and the stop brought the Cavaliers their first NBA championship.
He didn't even need a 3,
LeBron fulfilled his promise, and the Warriors became the first team to lose a 3-1 lead in the finals. 2012, Philadelphia 76ers defeat the Chicago Bulls 4-2.
2012.
The Chicago Bulls teams from the beginning of the last decade are one of the biggest what-if teams in NBA history. They had the youngest MVP ever in Derrick Rose, a Defensive Player of the Year in Joakim Noah, a Swiss Army knife do-it-all swingman in Luol Deng, and other complementary pieces that propelled them to the best record in the league for 2 years in a row. As the number 1 seed, the Bulls played against the gritty but severely under-talented 8th seed in the Philadelphia 76ers. Everything seemed to be going fine for the favorites until the last minute of Game 1. Derrick Rose.
And it's 99-87. And I do understand, like, with a minute 20 left, you never know, but still, all was seen in the game. A minute 20 left, up by 12. You could pretty much say that game is over.
Explosive cut towards the basket, like he did a million times before in his career. Only this time, his knee buckled, and that was all she wrote. Without Rose, the Bulls became another #1 seed to lose in the first round of the playoffs. And this was the beginning of an end for that iteration of their team. 2011, Dallas Mavericks defeat the Miami Heat 4-2.
Shout out Dirk Nowitzki,
In
man. That's my
retrospect,
guy.
this wasn't such a big upset
Dirk.
when we look at the
Dirk.
depth charts of both teams and how they matched up on the floor. The Mavs had an evenly balanced team with shooters, 2 defensive specialists, and a superstar who played the best basketball of his career. On their way to the finals, the Mavs swept Kobe and the Lakers, who were the defending champs, and they beat the Thunder with KD, Russ, and Harden. On the other hand, the Miami Heat had 3 superstars, and not much else. Knowing what we know now, this was a pretty even series. But at that moment, before it all started, the Heat were the Goliath and the Mavs were David. Everybody looked at it as 3 superstars in their prime against a European blondie who can't defend and a 37-year-old Jason Kidd who was 1 foot out of the league.
And they were
when the Heat took a 2-1 series
really
lead and had a big lead in the fourth, almost nobody could have predicted the final outcome. However, the Mavs came back and won Game 4 and then 2 subsequent games as well, providing one of the biggest upsets in NBA Finals history. 2011, Memphis Grizzlies defeat the San Antonio Spurs 4-2. Before 2011, Memphis Grizzlies hadn't won a playoff game.
The rough boys,
The Spurs
the
were the
rough
most
riders.
boringly successful team in all of basketball. The Grizzlies entered the playoffs as an 8th seed, while the Spurs had the best record in the West. And nobody expected that the historic success trajectory of these franchises would be disrupted in this series. However, the matchup with Memphis didn't suit the Spurs at all. San Antonio was vulnerable to physical teams who didn't play at a fast pace, and that's precisely who the Grizzlies were. Zach Randolph and Marc Gasol were like 2 linemen who continually bullied their way through every Spurs player, similar to what Tampa Bay's defensive line did to poor Pat Mahomes in the last Super Bowl. Memphis's grit and grind won the series in 6 games, becoming just the 4th team in history to knock the first seed out of the playoffs. 2007, Golden State Warriors defeat the Dallas Mavericks 4-2.
I think this one Dallas had like the best record in the league as well this year. Like, they were very, 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 very good. For them to just
Golden State Warriors were a synonym for losing in the late 90s and early aughts. They came into the 2007 season with 13 straight years without a playoff appearance, an NBA record at the time. However, in 2007, they appointed Don Nelson as the head coach and brought some fresh blood on the court with the signings of Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, and Al Harrington. Nelson's run-and-gun style yielded instant success, and the Dubs finally made the playoffs as the 8th seed. But even though they managed to squeeze into the postseason, nobody expected them to do anything against the best team in the league and the MVP of the regular season. Mavs won 67 games that season. Dirk joined the super rare 50-40-90 club, and the whole world expected Dallas to make another deep run after losing the 2006 NBA Finals. But Nelson and his squad had other plans. They believed that they could do the impossible and knock out the favorites, and the whole city got behind the "We Believe" mantra, which became an unofficial nickname for the team. The We Believe Warriors won the series in Game 6 after a spectacular shooting performance by Steven Jackson, who made 7 threes and scored 33 points. By defeating the Mavs, the Warriors became the first 8th seed to upset the 1st seed in the best-of-7 series. 2004, Detroit Pistons defeat the Los Angeles Lakers 4-1.
Gary Payton, Shaq,
From the outside,
Kobe.
everything looked peachy in La La Land at the beginning of the 2004 NBA season. The Lakers had the most dominant player in the NBA in Shaq. They had Kobe, who was the best one-on-one player in the league, and they added Gary Payton and Karl Malone, who were hungry to win their first NBA titles. However, on the
The funny thing is, Gary Payton did eventually get one with the Heat when they beat Dallas. That is funny. Gary Payton did eventually get
inside,
a
things
ring.
couldn't be more hectic. Bryant and O'Neal were at the height of their feud, and the team chemistry was probably the worst in the league. But despite all the turmoil, their talent prevailed, and the Lakers made it to another NBA Finals. There, they would play against the Pistons, who were a good team, but who played with 0 superstars on the roster. All evidence seemed to point to another Lakers championship. But the Pistons exposed the Lakers with their defense and playing as a team, while the Lakers played as individuals. Shaq was guarded brilliantly by Ben Wallace.
Yeah, Ben
While
Wallace.
Kobe
Defensive
was
player of
forcing
the year,
things in
baby.
the selfish desire to win his first Finals MVP trophy and trying to prove that he's the new alpha dog. Bryant shot just 38% for the series and
Jeez.
17% for three, which wasn't nearly good enough for the guy who was taking 23 shots per game. Detroit won the series in 5 games and produced a major upset, which was the final nail in the coffin of the Kobe and Shaq Lakers dynasty. 1999, New York Knicks defeat the Miami Heat 3-2.
This is the
In
walkout year as well,
1999,
though.
Patrick Ewing was 36, and his all-star days were in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, he was
Hampered
beat
with
up.
injuries,
Beat
Ewing's
up.
aging body gave little hope that New York could be relevant in the playoffs. Without their star player for the majority of the lockout-shortened season, the Knicks barely made the postseason as the 8th seed. That meant they would be playing their old nemesis in the first round, the Miami Heat. In the best-of-5 series, the Knicks and the Heat were even after 4 games, and the deciding Game 5 was the closest one in the series.
Allen Houston.
With 4.5 seconds to go, the Knicks were down by 1 when Jeff Van Gundy called a timeout. If they didn't score, their season would be over. The ball got into the hands of Allen Houston, who made a move towards the basket. His floater hit the front rim, but with a very friendly bounce. It found the bottom of the net with 0.8 seconds on the shot clock. It was only the second time in NBA history that the 8th-seeded team defeated the 1st seed in round 1 of the playoffs.
What a
The Knicks
team.
would win 2 more series
What a
and
team.
proceed to the NBA Finals,
Well, we
where they lost to Tim
the
Duncan
Spurs,
and the
yeah.
Spurs.
Yeah, we know.
1994, Denver Nuggets
Oh,
defeat the
yeah.
Seattle Supersonics
He's getting big.
3-2.
He's
The
getting
most
big.
famous iteration of the Supersonics was with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, whose teams were a perpetual title contender.
And those Seattle teams were good. Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, and yeah, what Nate McMillan, Detlef Schrempf, Sam Perkins, Irvin Johnson. Not Magic, just Irvin Johnson.
In the 90s, the
Seattle teams
Sonics
are good,
won
man.
63 games during the 1993-94
I think they were
regular
like shooting
season,
threes as
the
well,
best
stuff
record
like
in the
that.
NBA, and in the first round, they faced the 8th seed Denver Nuggets, who barely made the playoffs. And even though Seattle had 2 All-Stars, Denver had one of the best defenders in NBA history. Dikembe Mutombo suffocated the Sonics offense, averaging 6.2 blocks per game and scaring everybody even to attempt a shot at the basket.
6.2
After
blocks
losing the
per
first 2
game.
games, the resilient Nuggets won 3 in a row to
Golly.
defeat the heavily favored Supersonics, becoming the first ever 8th seed to produce an upset in the first round. 1981, Houston Rockets defeat the Los Angeles Lakers 2-1. In 1980, the LA Lakers won the NBA title, where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the regular season MVP and Magic was named the MVP of the finals. In 1981, Kareem was still widely considered as the best player in the NBA. Magic was the league's premier point guard, and everybody expected them to repeat as champions. The Lakers finished with the second-best record in the West, and they were supposed to make easy work of the 7th-seeded Houston Rockets, who accumulated more losses than
Who was
wins in the
number one
regular season.
that
The first
season?
round was played in a best-of-3 series, and the Lakers were supremely confident in their victory, even after the Rockets stole Game 1. After they evened the series in Houston, the Lakers surprised the world by dropping another game at home, which meant their season was over.
They
Led by a
lost
future
both
Hall of
games at
Famer
home.
Moses Malone, the Rockets would advance all the way to the NBA Finals,
Yes, they
where Larry
lost.
Bird and the Celtics ultimately stopped their improbable run.
And the funny thing was, Houston lost to Boston twice. Bird has 3 rings. 3 rings. He beat Houston twice and the Lakers. That was a pretty interesting list. A very, very good list as well. I can't even think of anyone that could really top that. That was a very, very good list. Biggest upsets in NBA playoff history. My Knicks are on here, so anyway. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. Don't forget to like the video. Sub as well as always. Take care. Stay amazing. Love you guys and girls. Peace.